Вот тогда будет эта симфония. Ну, давайте. Значит,
Have a try.
ра-та-та-та-ти-та-там-пам-пам-пам. Там-пам. Нет, вы знаете, в чем дело.
The main thing.
Я всё
Just a
время
reminder.
говорю.
Expressive conducting is based on changes you make to the standard scheme of beats to a bar. Here, all beats are equally important. This scheme reveals nothing that is going on in the music here. To find a better expression, you have to alter this scheme. It often happens that performers are unhappy when I show the first beat by an upward hand motion instead of a normal downstroke. My usual answer to this is that I try to indicate the meaning of the music, while the rest they can read from the score. This gesture tells nothing to the orchestra. That one, however,
нет, видите, тара-та-та-та-та-рам-пам-пам-пам, нет, тира-ты-та-ти-та-рам-пам-пам-пам.
shows the significance of the whole musical phrase, its culmination, its center, where all notes are coming to. This is a very radiant tune.
Раз, два, та-та. Теперь Бетховен написал пиано.
Beethoven marked this with piano. Keep to the time. Piano.
Вот crescendo.
Crescendo.
Последний такт, он является как бы
The last bar is a conclusion of what was before.
Его нужно как-то ответить.
Make it sound fortissimo, in a heroic way. Stop, please. Look out. Beating time. I will not tell you anything. Just look at me. Play, please.
Глядите, пожалуйста. Раз. Пожалуйста, теперь сыграйте.
Now play it again. Do you see it now? In a normal scheme of beats, all of them are downstrokes. This passage is an example where every beat is an upstroke. This is a drastic change of the standard scheme.
А вот это, пожалуйста, видите. Вперед. Вы знаете,
Here it sounds like a heavy shower, or even a tempest that has just started.
Рам-пам, пам-пам, 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 пам, пожалуйста, та-та-та-та-та-та-та-та-та-та, пошел, та-та-та-та-та-та-та, та.
This is how it should be conducted.
Пам, пам, пам. Они просто
This is the wrong variant.
пам, пам. То есть, короче говоря, каждой четверти вы должны относиться.
The main point is to give every crotchet as a particularly meaningful.
Чему вы придаете значение, а не просто, видите, пам, 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 пам.
Don't simply beat time.
Пам, пам, пам. Пьяная Нет.
Wrong.
Вы всегда должны знать, куда-то
You must know where every musical phrase proceeds.
прийти. Расти та там пам па пам тем тарам тим та та. Тим тар 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 тар. А у вас
It is
это, между
unclear.
прочим, можно раз пам 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 пам. Форта первая.
Stop, please.
Вы понимаете,
Of course,
что дело?
performers sooner or later will play their scores. They play, however,
То, что у них
in the
написано.
passage you have just done, you completely forgot this eighth note. Up to this point, there were fourth notes,
Там пам пам пим.
and now comes this eighth note.
Та-там, пи-та-там. Вот это
It should be
восьмичка,
significant,
она должна быть какой-то
heroic.
героической, какой-то вообще значительной. А вы
But
ее
you simply
просто
don't
не
see it.
замечаете.
Start
Пожалуйста,
again
еще раз
from
форте.
40, please.
Нет.
No.
Глядите. Пожалуйста. Вот оно что. То есть все время рост
Here we have a
энергии.
continuous accumulation of energy.
Теперь все вниз. Пам, 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 пам. Тут. Раз, два, три, раз, два, три. Та-ти-та-та. О, правильно. Понятно, да? Все должно быть очень динамично и
Culmination is the point
целенаправленно
everything is
какой-то
built towards.
кульминации. Все, молодец, хорошо.
Well done. Rimsky-Korsakov, Scheherazade, the third movement. in search of the right image. In the first version of the score, Rimsky-Korsakov gave each part an individual title. The first one was called Sinbad's Vessel, the second, A Fest in Baghdad, the third one, The Prince and the Princess. We can imagine a tender scene with the prince and the princess. It will be later, but now there is the prince who anticipates an appointment with his beloved one. We can see at once that your matter-of-fact style of conducting is out of place here. What if you do like this? Look. Remember the basses. Look once again. This is a good illustration of our recent talk about the left hand. Play, please. It's all lost, because I'm making the same motions with both hands. Now I'll do it with one of the hands. Something is missing. What do you think? This time I'll try to use the left hand to create a picture of the prince who looks forward to his princess. Remember the basses. Very good.
Левая рука,
Make your hand and shoulder pliant. The elbow must be elastic too. Well done. Don't raise the hand that much.
Керим, гармония, все.
Well done.
Хорошо, молодец.
Good work.
Вот здесь это буква А или Б, по-моему.
Буква Б.
Б. В букве Б не
Here in the
помечено
score,
никакого
we don't find a Pumorsa author's marking.
Просто я
However, I will
немножечко
venture to speed it up a little bit, because after the theme of the prince has appeared twice, he, the prince, naturally should become impatient, as though saying, "When at last will you come?"
показать его уже, вот он ждет этой царевны.
Conducting this way is not enough.
Появляется не просто тарарам, таритам, тарам-пам, таратим, парам-пам, парам-пам, тататим, тарапам, парам-пам. Настойчиво, ну
No.
когда же ты
He is so
придешь,
urgent to see
Боже
her.
мой?
When will she come at last?
Поэтому нужно, чтобы было та-та-ти, таратам, парам-пам.
What was your mistake here? Mistake?
Он перед крещендо делает такое
Before the
же
crescendo,
большое
you made
движение
too
рукой.
large a gesture.
Та-та-та,
It was
тарам-пам.
exactly this reason
Поэтому
why the crescendo
крещендо
didn't
не
make itself felt.
ощущается.
What do you have to do
Поэтому
then?
что нужно сделать?
This
Если видите,
crescendo
что вторая
starts from
доля
the
у вас
second beat
крещендо
and go
красная,
on to the first beat of the next bar.
Парам, парам. Вот теперь я,
Look,
видите,
I
я
gave the
раз,
first beat, then slowed down the hand, showed the second beat, and at last engaged the whole arm for the gesture. The movement towards the second bar was shown with a lot of tension in it.
Парам-пам, парам-пам. Та-та-тим, тира-тира-тара-тара-тара-там. А вы
You did it
тим,
wrong. This is where your
тарам-пам,
mistake
парам-пам.
lies.
Вот это ваш
Have another try.
Нет,
Mistake.
все принципиальное.
This is another serious mistake.
Он хочет
So he's
сделать
going to
крещендо.
indicate crescendo.
Что же он
What
делает?
are his gestures?
Та-та-тим, тара-там, тарам. Сразу
He is in a hurry to give the next first beat. Consequently, his hand rushes through the second beat here, and no crescendo is shown properly. What did he have to do then?
тим, тара-та, тарам. Видите, как будто я
You see how my gesture resembles the process of lifting something heavy from below.
Тим, тарам, пам, тара, тара-тим, тира-тира-та. Поэтому, когда я должен делать крещендо,
When I move my hand from the second beat to the next first one, I stop it there,
и
one.
забираю два,
Then I seemingly scoop something and pull upwards,
поднимаю.
two. And the first beat is here. That is how you should indicate crescendo. Try once again. New image.
В букве «Д» появляется его возлюбленная. Вся в украшениях,
The princess
там
enters under letter
там
D.
всё, что самое. И
Her jewels glitter.
начинается сцена.
And the
Чем
scene
кокетливее
begins.
будет принцесса, чем более страстнее
The prince
будет
is afire with
тем
passion.
будет более яркая эта сцена. Вносите мне
Start from
прямо
letter
с
D,
этой самой
please.
рам-тара-та-та-та-та, буква «Д». Та-та-та. Не
No.
перед тем, как показать,
First of all, you have to conceive the music
он у
image
вас
in your
уже
imagination.
имеется в сознании.
Only
Надо
then
только это
will it be
перевести
transferred to
в
hands.
движение рук.
A music image has to be in your hand before the orchestra can play it. The nature of your hand movements determines what sort of music image will appear in the music. Look. The hand.
Все легкие образы стаккато я дирижирую вот так.
All airy images, staccato, I conduct with the stick gripped between the two fingers, like this. Look.
Пожалуйста, буква «Д», глядите. Видите, вот механизм.
On no account must you hold it with all your fingers. Sick. Beating time tells nothing.
Хорошо. Вы это сделали правильно.
Formally, you do it all right. What you lack is expression.
Нужно было прибавить характерности во всем образе.
For the most part, you beat time, which, as I already told you, indicates nothing.
Тактирование ничего не говорит, ничего не определяет.
Only the deliberate change of a standard beating time scheme adds expression to your gestures. To this, the work of the left hand is added. Remember, the left hand is important for an expressive conducting. Look. This is an explosion, the culmination of the whole movement. She is about to leave now.
Пожалуйста.
Good work.
Стоп. Написано пиумоса. Вот, ну...
In the score, we find here a Pumosa marking. So he did it quite right. But in the matter of fact, they are parting. These are the last minutes of their rendezvous. The prince is imploring her to stay. The music conveys this emotion very well. You, the conductor, has to find the right gesture to express this too. Look. Tchaikovsky, the Fifth Symphony, Movement 1. Warning, the corrections. That was quite all right technically, but I couldn't hear Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony in it. You conducted some sort of light-hearted, easy-listening music. The drama of this symphony was not felt in it at all. First, this was too fast. This tempo has no justification. The music does not imply this. That is why the music sounded in an unduly gay manner. The theme of fate. Let's start, however, from the theme of fate. It was Tchaikovsky's life torture, the fate, the destiny. But he didn't regard destiny as divine punishment. For him, it's an emotion of the soul. Please, take notice of the fact that this rhythmic pattern is repeated 3 times. And each time it's a different emotion indeed. Mistake. You see that I make 3 breaks in the music here. The reason is that the 16th notes, as a rule, tend to separate themselves from the last preceding notes and stick to the next one. You should bear this in mind if you want to conduct this passage as a continuous phrase. Look.
Второй раз.
This is how the theme is presented for the first time. If we look further, we see that the author marked it piano. When the theme appears the second time, we can hear that the emotions rise, the music becomes anxious and tense. That is why I can make it sound stronger, despite the piano marking. Let's start it over again.
И печальная. Второй раз эта тема идет.
The second appearance of the theme has a different mood. It's anxious, somber, threatening.
Дальше. Crescendo.
Crescendo.
Дальше то же самое. Вот видите, это оказывается не повторение, а это еще развитие.
This is not a simple repetition. It's a development through which the anxiety becomes higher.
И, наконец, третий раз.
The third time we find this theme, it's still more somber and anxious.
Состояние. Третий раз. Мрачно. Безнадежно.
Though the tempo seems to have slowed down, the mood remains.
Вот это место
Let's stop here.
Ну так это
Usually conductors pass by this place without noticing
А здесь
that it's here that a struggle starts.
конфликтность. В чем
How is this fact manifested?
сперва было тревожная
First, as we
тема
saw,
у
the
клавиатуры,
disquietness was in the parts of clarinets and fagots.
немножко более,
Then it's
может
taken
быть,
over in a slightly enthused manner by the strings.
вдруг что-то появляется
Suddenly, an obstacle appears,
типа который
which
прекратило
stops the development of the theme in the strings.
развитие этой самой темы у струнных. Тогда появляется
An effort is required to overcome this obstacle. A man uses all his willpower to do this. No, there is no escaping fate. But then liberty comes at last. It's very important to show this collision. Take notice that Tchaikovsky introduced the conflict of the two themes already in the exposition. Normally, it happens in the development only. How to use the delayed upbeat.
Раз. Обратите внимание, я здесь
Can you see
задержанным обращением.
that I use the delayed upbeat here?
То есть пампером стремительный жест
The gesture must not be as sluggish. It must be impetuous, like motion, and a sudden stop. This is needed to make sure that the tempo remains the same. I give the first beat only when it's required by the tempo.
Пампером прямо самый третий так после че. Теперь следующий еще.
It often happens that a conductor shows an upbeat for forte
Auf так форте делает его
by a mere rise of the hand that is then stopped and flung forward. As a result, we have a pause. When we conduct like this, however, can you see that? I carry on moving the hand till the very end of it. Mistake. Another mistake that is very common. This place is usually conducted without proper decrease of the gesture's swing. As a result, we have no true diminuendo. My advice would be not to be afraid of stopping the hand here. To achieve the piano, you have to literally stop the hand movement.
А теперь вот здесь, вот в этом месте следующее
This
бывает
is another mistake.
ошибка у дирижера. Ну, прежде всего,
Look at this closely.
это нужно
Usually, it's passed
иметь
by
в виду,
without being
когда вот
noticed.
будете дирижировать тирам, тар, особенно тарара, тарара, тирара, тарарам, та-та-та-та-та-та-та-та, не так, чтобы
This is wrong.
тарарарарарам. Пам, та-та-та-та-та.
While it's clear that something new begins in the music here. Mind you this pause.
Очень динамично.
You have to make it very expressive.
Дает толчок
It's the beginning point,
движений. Пожалуйста,
like a
перетягивайте
springboard for a jumper.
паузы. Вот видите, как бы приходит
We can see that after this pause, a completely new music image has entered the music.
как бы настойчиво.
It sounds persistent, even cruel. This new theme plays a considerable role in the development.
Время в разработке фигурирует.
Mistake.
Теперь я продирижирую
I will conduct this place twice. The first one to show how it's usually performed. The second, how it should be done.
А потом покажу, как надо.
The first usual one. As a consequence, these 3/8 notes do not sound properly.
Их как-то не слышно бывает. Теперь на самом деле
The whole passage is played in a dull, sluggish manner with no expression. Why? Because these two bars were conducted without any object to achieve.
Можно было продолжать еще.
There is nothing here. It's empty.
Ничего бы не изменилось.
Look now, though.
Теперь глядите. Тем-та-тем-та-тем-та-тем-та. Та-та-та-та-та-та-та. Тем-та-тем-та-тем-та. Та-та-та-та-та-та-та. Другая картина. Появилась
Can you see the
динамика.
dynamics? The second theme.
Побочная тема, она может быть
The second theme here can be interpreted in a number of ways.
можно это быть какой-то
For instance,
возглас
as an
мольбы
entreaty,
какой-то татиром.
by putting into conflict the two bass voices, the composer achieves the desired effects.
Что хотелось достигнуть автору. Тогда это выглядит о радость, о счастье, я снова...
Eventually, we have here a declaration of love. Play the second theme, please.
Тогда вот видите, я
Look at my gesture.
не так просто.
No, no, not this way.
Татира. У меня жест выражает какое-то чувство.
It's how a man asks for something
Татира. Вот так мы просим.
or implores.
И выражаем какие-то свои чувства. Пожалуйста. И так дальше. Вот. Теперь интересная вещь, я тоже остановлюсь на этом. Это в разработке. Разработка
Let's examine the development now.
из
It explores the thematic ideas that were presented in the exposition.
в экспозиции, но
Now they've come into
в
collision.
столкновениях. В чем это выражается?
First,
Во-первых, все время таром.
this theme of fate is always here.
Присутствует. Это
It appears in different instrumental parts all the time.
мотив роковой вообще.
This
Но
fateful motive
главное, это, конечно, рамтра-та-та-тира-та-там.
begins to sound as if the hero is terror-stricken.
Как какие-то, какой-то кошмар, который
The hero is horrified.
представляется
He is haunted by
со
nightmares.
всех сторон. Рам-тра-та-та-тира-та, там тра-та-та-тира-та, там тра-та-та-тира, он тира-ра-ра-ра, уйди. Опять там тра-та-та-тира, там тра-та. То есть вообще состояние
This is a true horror.
какого-то ужаса вообще.
Mere beating time will not do here.
Та-та-тира. Вот теперь мотив. разработка – это
This is the center of the battle, where struggle is ebullient and nightmares are all around.
кошмаров.
Tchaikovsky, the Fifth Symphony, second movement.
Он продирижировал очень прилично.
Formally, he did it very well, very correctly.
Приветствовать такой дирижинг. Он дирижировал.
He employed all professional technique that was necessary, used a reversed arbit, etc.
Но не хватало большей,
But the musical expression was poor. He lacked an aim to be achieved, the culmination. Secondly, it remained unclear which feelings the composer wanted to express by his music. You see, there are two seemingly identical melodic phrases here. They are different, however. A conductor must understand the musical meaning of the first one and of the second one too. Their relations are also important. If the one theme is a passionate declaration of love,
выражено какое-то желание, стремление, ну, можно сказать, какое-то
a passionate declaration which, as it goes to the end, before the pause, gets even more passionate. The other may reveal the response. Both themes bear only formal resemblance to each other. It's like feelings of a man and a woman. They're similar on the one hand. On the other, they are the feelings by two different people that are expressed in two different ways.
Теперь вот обратите внимание, значит, первый я показывал тему у Волторны. Причем, если мне
When the theme was in the French horn part, it was clear that I didn't need to show the players how rich the sound had to be.
Когда я имею дело со струнным инструментом,
But as soon as the theme moved to the strings, it became necessary for my gestures to be a guide for the performers as to their bowing and even handwork.
инструменталиста, играющего на скрипке или виолончели. В этой части тема
The
исполняется
theme
первый раз
proceeds from the French horn to the cellos,
виолончелями, третий раз
to the
скрипками,
violins,
четвертый раз деревянными духами.
and to the brass winds.
И дирижер должен
Each group of instruments requires special means of indication from the conductor.
тому, как играет инструмент. Поэтому, когда
Now the French horns are playing.
Тира-ради. Теперь виолончели, пожалуйста, начнем. Прямо
The cellos,
дерево. То-то-то-ти-ти. То-то-то-ти. То-то-ти. Вот теперь должен я специально остановить.
I would like you to remember this place.
Дальше дирижер показывает нечто вроде...
It's usually conducted in the manner of a march.
Пожалуйста, дальше. Та-та-та-тим, пам-пам-пам. И так дальше. Вот это обычное дирижирование. Это совершенно...
That is absolutely inadmissible.
Теперь
Why?
объясню, почему это так.
Let's look into what goes on in Tchaikovsky's music.
Чайковский.
The first time when a French horn plays it, it sounds like
Та-та-тирам, та-ра-та-тирам, та-ра-ра, соль, 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 фа. Второй
This
раз,
was
и
the end of the
закончилась
theme.
на этом тема.
the second time it begins like this,
Та-ра-та-тира, та-ра-та-ти, та, соль, диез. Вдруг появился
and suddenly
такой
the G note
необычный
comes,
звук. И вот
such an
этот
unexpected, discordant
декодирующий как
sound.
бы в мелодии звук вызывает
This very sound, however, causes the melody to continue.
Третий же раз эта задержка, то есть еще вот это самое, какой-то конфликт в
The
мелодии.
third time the theme comes out, the conflict is already in full swing.
Тарарарира, тарарарира, тарарати, та-та-та, ра-та-та-ти, та. Это как будто человек умоляет.
The man implores,
А мольба. Тарарати, та-та-та, ра-та-та-ти, та. И дальше.
The prey rises.
Та-та-та, та-та-та-тим, там, та-ра-та-та-та, та-та.
and reaches the culmination.
И здесь ответ. Ти-ра-ра-рам, та-ра-ра-ри-ра-рам. Вот что
After the culmination, there comes a break to the melody. Thus, the first theme has no conclusion. Now, what's been going on in the second motive?
The
phrase is still singing.
Повторяет та-ра-ра-ри-ра-рам. Тоже не дошло до конца.
The conclusion is still ahead too.
Ти преодолела,
At last, the obstacle is broken.
ти-та-та-та-та-тирам. Значит, здесь
You can see now how Tchaikovsky devised dramatic effects here. The music reaches culmination through a succession of obstacles that it overcomes. Conductor's typical mistakes.
Сыграем тира-рарам. Глядите. Значит, для что я показываю? Я беру звук.
Here I take the sound and bring it to the third beat. Most often, conductors give the first strong beat like this.
То есть они сразу дают утвердительную долю. Теперь сравните, пожалуйста.
You can compare the two examples.
Или
Here I have already exhausted all my abilities. Now, though, I'm just beginning.
Теперь, так, следующая ошибка дирижера.
Another mistake conductors do. Tchaikovsky wrote here animando. What do conductors do? They accelerate. But animated does not mean accelerated. Accelerando is speeding up, while animando means just lively, vigorously, etc. I'll show you two examples of conducting. This is accelerando.
Пожалуйста.
This way, conductors make short work of it. What do you have to do? Animando. You could see that the difference was considerable. In the one case, it was a mere mechanical acceleration of music. In the other, the expression of a feeling. The last thing, fate theme. It appears in part 2, 3 and 4 of the symphony. But the first time we find it there, it's introduced in the middle of the second part, after a passage in a pastoral manner. The theme is prepared by a small accelerated fragment. It creates an image of a man who has a feeling that something terrible will happen. The second time the phaeton comes back, it's when all obstacles are broken and a lull seems to have set in. The theme of fate breaks out, and soon it turns into a devastating tempest. Finale of the movement.
Вот глядите, что здесь мне представляется. Вот эта тема рока
The
ворвалась
theme of fate was introduced here to indicate cruelty.
жестокостью, ра-та-та-та-та-та-та, и разрушила все
The happiness was illusory.
счастье. После паузы, как
After a
бы
pause, we can
человек
hear a
восклицает:
lament.
«О Боже!
Good Lord,
О
who
Боже!
is me?
Погибло
All is
всё
gone».
теперь. Ох, горе мне. Вот, пожалуйста, татирам. Идите, раз, два. О Боже!
Good Lord,
Боже! Погибло всё. О горе мне, о
who is me?
горе мне.
No one of the dreams came true. That
Вот
is
и
the end of
закончилась
drama.
целая драма.
Special means of expression. A sense of movement.
Все наши действия, все действия человека, они
All movements of our body are directed and controlled by motor sensations in our muscles. In everyday life, we seem not to be aware of this fact, as it goes automatically.
Мы просто протягиваем руку.
If we need to take something, we simply reach it by hand.
Какие двигательные ощущения в это время возникают?
We
Для
do these
дирижера
movements mechanically and take no notice of motor sensations we are having at the moment.
важно
A conductor, however, has to control his emotional feelings, and it's really important.
Явление.
Motion and action.
Глядите,
For instance, I move my hand from here to there.
и обратно. Это просто
It was a
движение.
hand
А
motion,
сейчас я
but not
беру,
an action, since it had no purpose.
допустим, стакан, наполненный водой,
Now imagine I have a glass full of water in my hand.
ставлю его сюда.
If I move it to another place, say here, it's already some sort of purposeful action. While doing this, I remember my muscles feeling the weight of the glass first, and then a relief from tension when I put the glass down. So now we have the glass standing over there. I stretch my hand to take it again. In this case, the action is different. I'm not putting the glass down. I'm taking it instead. Mind you, the movement seems to be the same. The purpose, however, is quite different. Hence, with the same sort of hand motion, different actions can be taken. You can put something down, or conversely, take it. By this motion, I call for crescendo, by that one, for diminuendo. The same motion, different actions. And the muscular sensations are different too. A conductor talks to the orchestra with his hand movements. The sense of movements is a conductor's essential quality. It can be developed. Example.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Распространенный случай, когда дирижер
It's a very common case.
правильно думает, мыслит все правильно.
A conductor has the right
Но в
ideas,
руке у него
but they
это
don't
не
reach his
отражено.
hand.
Ему кажется,
He's
что
doing his
он
best,
делает это руками.
but the orchestra
И
does not
оркестр не
respond.
отвечает. Поэтому
So
дирижер будет
he starts long
дока-
explanations how they
показывать
should play.
оркестру, как надо
This is a
сыграть.
difficult
А
task,
это очень
isn't it?
трудно рассказать,
You can't
что
say in
здесь
words
нужно
how to
сделать.
play this passage, for
Там,
instance.
там, просто разная ритмика.
The rhythmic
Вот.
pattern is
Значит,
different here.
дирижер должен
This shows
всегда
how important it is for a
себя
conductor to
контролировать.
control his actions.
правильно ли он,
It's essential
достаточно ли
that he
ярко
indicates with a genuine expression
показывает то,
what he
что
wants
он
to hear.
хочет выразить.
What you can teach to anyone.
Вот обычно дирижера
Normally, a conductor is taught to make hand movements.
вот вам схема.
This is how to
Вот
give
это
beats,
для
forte,
вот так для форта, вот для пиано.
the same for piano sounds.
Это все
That's it.
выучить
All this
очень
is
легко.
very easy to learn. What you can't teach to anyone.
Труднее другое. Показать
You can't teach anyone
музыкальное
to feel a
содержание
gesture with musical
этого
expression.
движения.
Example.
Нет. Видите,
Stop, please.
здесь, если вы сосчитаете, примерно 7
We have here 7 or 8 different rhythmic patterns.
ритмических фигур даже в самом начале. Потому что
One,
тим, тарам, пам, вторая
two,
там, та-там, третья тарам, тим, тарам, четвертая рам, папара, та-там, пятая та-там,
Five.
папам, парам, тира, та-там, та-тим, тарам, та-тира, та-там, та-тира и так дальше. Вот, поэтому тим, тарам, трим, рам, папам, парам, парам, тим, тарам, пам, рам, папара, та-там. Видите, вы тут
You
сразу
gave the first
после
beat
раза
and went on
идете
directly to the
следующего
next
такта,
bar,
а здесь вы
while
должны
you had
показать
to show
рам,
this
папарам,
first.
папам.
You've
Вот
got to
это
feel such
всё
things,
нужно дирижеру
because this is
чувствовать,
what we call
потому
music.
что это и есть
And if a
музыка.
conductor is only able of giving beats,
Видит только раз и
1,
два,
2, anyone can do it.
ти-тири-тири, ти-та-та-та-та. Ри-тири-ра-та-та-та-та-там.
Most important thing about a gesture is its message.
Крещендо или дивнендо может иметь разное содержание.
When you call for crescendo in a
я
solemn piece of
показываю
music,
для того, чтобы дать сильную
It's
какую-то
one
динамику торжественного характера. Пам, пам, пам. Или хочу передать это крещендо.
quite another matter is a crescendo that expresses a growing anxiety,
Там, пам.
or tells about a feeling that grows deeper as the music goes. Therefore, a conductor's main job is not only to show the increase of sound, but also fill the gesture with a specific meaning. The same applies to a diminuendo gesture. It can convey either an order to mute the sound or call for a dying music, as though its energy has been exhausted. All this can be read from the scores, as the composer conceived it. There are several ways to learn this. Suppose a conductor is going to rehearse in an unusual way. He has no orchestra, no concertmaster. He is alone. When a pianist plays, he can hear his mistakes at once. His instrument will tell him. Who will tell a conductor that the gesture he's found is the best one? How can he check his own performance? I would suggest two different ways, two methods. Method 1. Comparison. The first method lies in comparing the meaningful gesture with the scheme of beats to a bar. It so happens that a student comes to a lesson with a piece of music he believes he has prepared well. He thinks his gestures are very significant and expressive. I ask him to simply beat the time for a particular passage. It turns out that the significant gestures he invented at home are no different from the scheme of beats. They reflect no shades the music suggests. Besides, his conducting is rhythmically incorrect. When you come back to beating time, all these deficiencies come to light. Beating time is both a foothold and reference point for a conductor. By comparing his hand motions with the rules of beating time, a conductor, firstly, checks if his work is rhythmical. Second, he can see at once if the gestures he's found are really expressive, because it might quite as well happen that all his imagery remained in his head and didn't reach his hands. This unpleasant conclusion can urge him to work more on his gestures. Method 2. Contraposition. This second method, I suggest, can be useful in our further study of how a conductor can check his work on a piece of music. Comparison is the basis of knowledge. By way of exercise, you can direct the same passage of music in several different manners. For instance, execute a gesture solemnly, or imperiously, or else with a dramatic effect. Vice versa, you can make it look joyful and humorous. At first, you should use manners that are opposed in meaning. This device is very good for developing your technique, imagination, and a general ability to conduct. Because you will have to deliberately modify your technical devices in search of better expression. A more difficult problem you face when you need to find nuances to convey emotions that are close to each other. Say, to make a difference between a light, merry gesture and a gesture for animated, cheerful music. You've got to have a very sophisticated conducting technique. Example. Let's look into this. At the end of this phrase,
вступают.
The brass winds come in. They join in the second part of the bar. The composer wants subito piano right after this place. Thus, at first, you've got to show an energetic forte to the brass winds and indicate subito piano immediately after that. You can do it with this sort of gesture. No, that's not right. Look closely.
Рам-парам. Я останавливаюсь.
And stop it. Now wrong.
Пам-парам. Причем здесь кулак.
Make a fist of your hand.
Пам-парам. И здесь просто
Stop it now.
Вот у классиков
All in all, in the printed music we have every necessary marking, like forte, piano, etc.
Если их показывать без
Indications of forte and piano that do not correspond to musical expression are formal and dull.
Но если вы
If you are being carried away with the music, that's quite another matter.
тогда это другая картина.
Look.
Видите, что я делаю? Рам-парам-пам-парам-пам-парам-пам-парам-па-рам-парам. Ти-та-ти. Тим-там-парам-парам-парам. Ти-та. Понимаете? Это не просто...
This is a formal gesture.
Там-парам-пам. Я показал
I simply
просто
indicated piano.
Можно и так сделать.
Of course, you can conduct this way, but it'll be expressionless and dull.
Нет. Что нужно
No,
сделать?
no. Look closer still.
Ти-рам-тарам-па-два. Раз на раз я останавливаю
For the first beat,
правую руку.
I stop my right hand.
И одновременно раз, два, и одновременно левая рука моя.
At the same time, I bring the left one to the right shoulder.
Рам-парам, значит, ти-рам-парам.
1,
Раз,
2,
два,
stop here.
Пам-парам. Вот.
There is no other way of doing this, because the right hand will be a hindrance to the left one. Method 2. Contraposition continued.
Что я должен делать для того, чтобы это было выразительно? Вот это метод сопоставлений, которым дирижер должен пользоваться. И он должен пользоваться этим во всех аспектах своей работы. Работает ли он над партитурой?
Contraposition is particularly useful when you work alone with the
Такой
score.
темп или такой темп? Сравните. Вот в этом темпе
Try to
получается
conduct the
слишком
same piece
весело,
in a
а
different
в этом
tempo.
темпе слишком скучно, а в этом
You'll see
темпе вот как
that the
раз
one
то, что
tempo makes the music too joyful,
или еще что-нибудь такое. Это один, значит, над партитурой
the other
он
one
должен
too dull.
работать. Дальше он
At
должен
last,
работать
you'll arrive at the
над
right
тем,
one.
чтобы, создать представление о музыкальных образах. Представить себе
Every
одну
musical piece
какую-то
has
картину,
its
другую,
own dramatic
третью и
composition.
дальше. Ведь музыка,
Collisions do happen
как в
and are
драме,
resolved.
только без слов происходят какие-то события.
Take, for
Достаточно
instance,
взять пятую
the Fifth
симфонию
Symphony by
Чайковского.
Tchaikovsky.
Глядите, тим-то, 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 тим-то.
This is an
Приказ
order,
какой-то. И
and
мольба.
hereupon comes an entreaty.
Тим-то, 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 тим. Та-та-та-ра-та-ти-ра-та-тарам.
A
То есть
conductor
всегда
has to
что-то
understand this.
происходит. И вот дирижер
A
должен
conductor must remember that there is something going on in music all the time. What is this going on? He decides for himself. If there is more than one type of entreaty feeling, he has to be able to hear this. He should find proper gestures to express it. The method of contraposition will help him find the best way of doing it. It will help him to set the right task, to create the right musical image. Thus, you can check yourself if you have hit the mark. Objective point. Example. What's the problem here? The whole episode goes piano, although this doesn't mean there is no dynamics in it, no energy. You have to bring them out. Let's start. I show with my gesture that the musical phrase develops towards its culmination. The same segment again. Once again, then a further development takes place. And again. And now the tune comes here. No. Theoretically, one can conduct like you, that is, to show the third beat in this way. However, here we have come across quite a different case. Look. If we then do like you, the hand movement ends before the tune does. Mistake. I'm sorry to stop you. But you gave the first crotchet to first violins and abandoned them at once. While this divine melody should be vivid and expressive. It's only possible if you manage to make it clear to the orchestra that they have to play in a brilliant manner. If, however, you start like this, it'll be dull. Did you notice that I turned to the violins even before they started?
И так дальше.
No. There should be sforzato here. Remember that each sforzato episode has its own meaning. Here it's espressivo. Whence a vibrato has to be shown.
Прямо это так, где будет сфорцато. Нет.
No.
Я хочу
I'll tell you once
привлекать
again.
внимание
You've got to attract the
исполнителей
performer's
еще
attention
до того,
before they
когда
start
они
playing their
начали
parts.
играть. Ти-та-ти-ра-ра. Теперь уже та-та-та-ра. Та-та-та-ти-та.
Example.
Па-трам-три, рам-па-пам-парам-парам.
All right,
Вот.
go ahead.
Там-тара-та. Та-тара-там-тара-там-тара. Нет, нет.
No,
Пиано не
you
вот
failed
это
to
что,
show piano.
рам-парам-пам-парам-пам-парам.
Here's
Что
a
здесь
piece of
делается?
practical
Глядите,
advice.
Я делаю хитрую вещь, которую вам рассказываю, чтобы вы это применяли. Я даю
Look,
вторую долю
I'm giving the second
не
beat
вверх,
downwards,
а
not up.
вниз. Запомните, не вверх, а вниз. Почему?
Why?
Если я даю ее вверх, я дал
If it goes up,
сильный
it'll become a
ауфтакт
strong upbeat
первой
for the
доли.
first beat.
И теперь мне нужно
An
делать
immense effort will be needed to show piano for the first beat then. If it goes like this,
как будто
with a
я
little bit of help from the left hand,
еще левую руку там парам пам парам пам парам пам парам пам парам пам. И мне больше ничего.
I won't need much to do so. Just a little motion of the left hand and another little motion of the right one.
Теперь рам па пам парам парам, пожалуйста.
A separate conducting.
Вы знаете, в чем дело? В руке часто здесь не видно, где вы тактируете
I
аккомпанемент
can't see clearly your directions for the accompaniment and for the melody.
и как ведете. И так дальше. Дирижер редко когда
I know a few examples when a conductor has to separately direct the melody and the accompaniment.
слоям ее разделения. То есть
That is, to direct them both independently at the same time.
аккомпанемент и какие-то там педали или еще какие-то заполнения. Нет,
Practically,
он
he
дирижирует
tends to
всё
follow the melody rather than the
Но
accompaniment
здесь
in most
получается
cases.
следующее, что он дирижирует прежде всего
It happens,
мелодию.
however, that through this he neglects the rhythm, which is in the French horn party,
Он в
for
это время
instance.
мешает ритму, а ритм играет валторно. И вот есть знаменитое место. Это конец
Do you remember
второй
that
части
famous
пятой
passage from
симфонии
Tchaikovsky's Fifth
Чайковского?
Symphony?
Ти-ра-та-та, где играет
This theme is
валторно.
played by the French horn.
Ра-та-та-та-та.
This moment
Вы знаете,
usually seems
это
rather difficult for
настолько
many conductors.
кажется трудным,
When Stokowski
что
directed it,
Стаковский,
he had
когда
to
я
split the
увидел
first
сейчас
beats up
запись,
to help the orchestra to
он
play.
там дирижировал, дробил первые доли, ра-та-та, что-то такое подрабливал, чтобы оркестр мог сыграть. На самом деле там ничего трудного нету. Только нужно в
The
это
secret
время
lies in the fact
дирижировать.
that here you have to direct the accompaniment and not the tune, because the former here is more difficult to perform and far more important for a good ensemble.
Для соблюдения ансамбля. Вот. Так что вот такое разделение дирижирования помогает.
This sort of separate conducting helps you, first of all, realize how musical elements relate to each other.
Какие слои, как они связываются. И
At the same time,
почувствовать
this enhances
по-настоящему
your apprehension of the role of the accompaniment, which, as is well known, often seems to be vital in classical music,
аккомпанемент играет
in respect of the dynamics in the first place.
динамическую. Так-так-так-так-так-так-так-так.
Here's a very illustrative example from Beethoven's works. A conductor starts directing,
Все.
and ends up with a complete chaos in the orchestra, because it has to play this.
Вот дирижер должен прежде
Here, a conductor should listen to the accompaniment first of all.
аккомпанемент, а не мелодию. И вот если
Even when he works on the score before the rehearsal, he must try to conduct some passage in a separate way to see what's more important here, the tune or the accompaniment.
важнее в каждом месте партитуры. И он может это сделать. Кроме того, я хочу предупредить молодых дирижеров, но это я делаю в классе, как бы не были
By the
вам
way,
знакомы
You should never
партитуры,
conceit yourself to be familiar enough with the score.
обращаетесь
Remember,
к этому
always read it
сочинению,
carefully,
чтобы его
as though
продирижировать.
you've never seen it before.
Изучайте партитуру так, как будто вы первый раз столкнулись с этим произведением.
Conductor's strong will.
Дирижер может все делать.
It also so happens
Палочку держать правильно. и
that a conductor seems to be doing everything all right,
движения, которые переняты у кого-то.
but the result is still unsatisfactory.
Это не его движение, а перенятое движение.
The reason in most cases is that his gestures do not have enough vigor.
Вот.
They are too imitative.
Представляете себе такую вещь. Ну, допустим, ребенок
Imagine
небольшой
your little
ребенок,
son is given a present.
получил подарок.
He is
Хочет
grateful and happy to thank the person who's done this.
Спасибо, я хотел такое-то, спасибо.
Another case
Другой случай,
is when
когда
it's you who tells him,
получил подарок,
go
и
and
вы
thank
говорите,
Mrs. Smith for the present.
поблагодари тетю.
As an
Поблагодари
obedient
тетю.
child,
Он
he goes along and does it.
Спасибо, тетя, вас за ваш подарок.
It's compulsion,
Он это
however.
делает не от
He
своего
can't do it
сердца, а
wholeheartedly.
потому что ему так сказали.
A conductor is no exception.
Очень важно, чтобы
He must have a
дирижер
feeling
должен
himself
чувствовать сам,
before he can convey
что
it to
он
others.
хочет передать. Подлинное развитие дирижирования
All my
у меня
life,
началось тогда,
I've
когда
remembered the
Мальков,
words of my
мой
teacher,
преподаватель,
Nikolai Andreevich
который не
Malko,
показывал
who would
особых
say,
движений,
a
но
conductor
сказал,
must first of all try to convey the emotions inherent in music, to bring out musical images.
И вот, пользуясь
This is
этим
the maxim
советом,
I've been
я
following
развивался
since then
сам и
and
учил
teaching it to my students. Who understands, understands.